And I'll be with you in just a moment. Hang in there, folks. And I'll be right with you live. Just give me one moment. And welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, it's me, your host, Fearless Floyd. Today is Independence Day, July 4th, 2024. And everybody should be celebrating, but, independence from what? We're still slaves in the slavery system, right? Aren't we? But behind me, as you see, welfare check at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. And you need to call that number 202 202 727 1000. And that's for anybody outside of Washington, D.C., the phone number to call for a welfare check. Well, why are we calling for a welfare check and who are we calling it for, Floyd? Well, let's go find out because I'd love to share this with you. Exactly what I'm talking about. All these controls. Well, I did Joe Biden 2024 debate gaffes, and I did a search, as you see. And I tell you what, you want to talk about some sanitizing? Google been hard at work because this should be just full of everybody putting up gaffes of Joe Biden, but you don't see them. So obviously they're, you know, tidying up. But if you go over here to the Metropolitan Police for the Washington Police Department, District of Columbia, and this is their operating policy. I forget what OPS stands for, but basically this is standard operating procedure. OPS 304.02, effective June 4th, 2018. And here's the purpose, definitions, regulations, procedures. Everything's right here. So let's go take a look at it. What's required? Purpose. As part of the mission of the Metropolitan Police Department, MPD, to safeguard District of Columbia residents and visitors by providing the highest quality of police service with integrity and compassion. MPD officers conduct welfare checks to verify the status of members of the public. The purpose of this order is to establish procedures for conducting welfare checks. This directive also specifies procedures for relaying appropriate information to MPD officials, MPD Youth and Family Services Division, and the District of Columbia Child and Family Services Agency, and any other involved parties. Definitions. When used in this directive, the following terms shall have the meanings designated. Number one, adult, any person 18 years of age or older. Number two, juvenile, any person under 18 years of age, unless the person has been emancipated by the court. Number three, welfare check, service offered by the MPD wherein a member responds to a location to determine the well-being or safety of one or more persons. Regulations. All subjects whose welfare cannot be verified regardless of age shall be investigated according to the facts and circumstances related to each incident. B, members conducting welfare checks shall prepare an incident report in all cases that result in a bona fide welfare check. These reports shall be classified as, quote, check on welfare of adult, close quote, or, quote, check on the welfare of a juvenile, close quote. Incident in the MPD records management system. Example one. A son has been able to reach his elderly mother for 2 days, but she has not answered the phone or responded to knocks at the door. The son calls MPD to perform a welfare check at his mother's residence. This is an example of a, quote, check on welfare of adult, close quote, incident. Example two, a call is received from a concerned member of the community regarding a homeless person who appears to be in distress. A member is dispatched to respond to that location and determines the need for an ambulance from District of Columbia Fire and Emergency Medical Services. This is not an example of a check on welfare of adult. Okay, that is not. The procedures. Members shall respond to and investigate all check on welfare of adult and check on welfare of juvenile incidents. Okay. B, in all incidents where welfare cannot be verified, the responding members shall notify an official at their element. A, the notified official shall review the available facts and circumstances and direct further inquiry or actions as appropriate. Number two, in cases involving a juvenile, the responding member shall ensure that the YFSD and CFSA are notified. And of course, we're not dealing with a juvenile here, where we could be, because it probably has the mental capacity of a juvenile. All right, number three, the responding member shall ensure that his or her contact information and the central complaint number are left with the person with whom information was obtained or at the location of the unverified welfare check whenever possible. In cases where, number four, in cases where welfare cannot be determined prior to the end of the shift, the watch commander shall determine whether a follow-up is necessary and notify the relieving watch commander accordingly. All right. And the C deals with juvenile. D, members shall complete an incident report in response to all welfare checks, regardless of the subject age. Number one, the incident shall be classified either as a, quote, check on welfare of adult, close quote, or the juvenile check, unless otherwise evidenced by the facts and circumstances of the preliminary investigation. All RMS report fields shall be completed appropriately, i.e., the reporting person shall contain the name of the person who requested the welfare check, and the subject person shall contain the name of the person whose welfare required verification. Number three, all related facts and circumstances should be documented, including A, the identity of the person from whom information was obtained, the reporting person. B, whether the subject is a juvenile or otherwise vulnerable. C, how the welfare of the subject was verified, if applicable. D, a detailed description of all investigative steps taken toward verification on the subject's welfare. E, all notifications made as a result of unverified welfare checks. And F, that the responding member's contact information and the central complaint number were left with the person whom the information was obtained or at the location of unverified welfare check. If it is not possible to provide the contact information and the CCN, members shall document the reason that the information was not provided. Number four, the official reviewing and approving the incident report shall submit the report to the element watch commander via RMS prior to the end of the shift in which the report was taken. And number five, the element watch commander shall ensure that the incident reports involving juveniles are submitted to the YFSD commander via RMS prior to the end of the shift in which the report is taken. And A, again, follows up on the juvenile. Peter Newsham, Chief of Police, with his signature, and that's the end of that document. So this is the standard operating procedure for a welfare check of the Washington District of Columbia Metropolitan Police. Let's move on. Okay. Now we're going to look at, I just did a search here. Let me give them a thumbs up for their effort. Okay. Biden gaffes. And this is from the debate. And we've all seen this, but I wanted to replay it because the whole world saw this. The whole world knows that Jill Biden is running Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is incompetent. He's incompetent to handle his own affairs, much less the affairs of a country, one of the most powerful countries in the world, if not the most powerful country in the world. So y'all have the nuclear football in that fool's hands? Let's check this out.
truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have any, this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, he got $2 trillion tax cut, benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state.
Immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch, overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Great.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I have, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
Let's not act like children.
what I did when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies.
Now, President Biden also made false claims, at least 9 false or misleading statements on first count. I'll give you some of them. He said he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15%. When he took office, it was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he'd supported, never endorsed him himself. In fairness, the president did appear to clarify that one.
All right, let's watch this guy right here in the middle. Watch him very closely. Watch the step, Mr. Biden. Do you see where he's pointing? Back. See, watch him point. Right there. Watch that step, Mr. Biden. Watch that step. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Is he going to fall? I got you. Oh, oh, man. That was just like, oh. That's somebody that should be having the nuclear football in their hand? Does he look like he could react quickly?
Watch what steak does to your gut.
And of course, I did again another search. I couldn't find anything for 2024. Only 2020. So there's a lot of cleaning up going on. So you decide, do we need a welfare check at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest regarding elder abuse of Jill Biden and the entire Biden administration, as well as other political subordinates, masking the clear loss of cognitive abilities, mental and physical faculties of Joseph Robinette Biden, which could potentially be a treasonous offense. So if you feel that your country is in peril or could potentially be in peril, you need to call this number, 202-727-1000. This is for anyone who lives outside of the DC area to call the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, DC, District of Columbia, to lodge a welfare check action and get it moving. So we have about, I don't know, 10,000 people calling. Might get some movement in there. So with that, have a safe and happy 4th of July. It's Independence Day. Let's get into